What's up, guys? I'm really excited about Tesla today, probably the most I've been in a while after their great earnings call that they just had. And we'll get to these pumpkins behind me in a minute. Don't worry, we'll definitely address it. But I hate using a title like this, that Tesla is the next Apple and has 1,000% growth potential. But I think it's true, and we're going to talk about why today. And I've definitely had some doubts recently with Tesla, but this was a great quarter, and it definitely got me excited about the company again. So you're seeing the stock is up 20% this week after reporting what many feel like is actually their best quarter in years. But just to touch on a few things, their cost of goods sold per vehicle came down to $35,000 or $35,100. That's the lowest it's ever been. Every Tesla car that cost the company $35,100, meaning any revenue above that is basically pure profit. So whether that comes from a higher sale price of the vehicle or things like their subscriptions like full self-driving, FSD, you can purchase FSD, one-time payment $8,000 or a monthly subscription of $99. That's basically going straight to the bottom line, which is really crazy to think about, because even if Tesla sold their cars at cost, or at that $35,000 number, they can use these subscriptions to essentially drive pure profits. And it doesn't even, not to mention all their other add-ons they have, but I definitely think full self-driving is the biggest opportunity and the most notable. And there's a luxury that many other car makers don't have. I mean, if they're even selling their vehicles at a profit to begin with, you look at the likes of Rivian, which don't get me wrong, I do think is a great company. I think it's probably second best to Tesla, although it's a very distant second. Rivian is losing just under $33,000 per vehicle that it sells. Tesla's cost per vehicle is in a race with Rivian's loss per vehicle. And then to bring in my props over here, if we were to compare Tesla and Rivian, Tesla's like this pumpkin over here. It's the best one. It probably wins the contest. Rivian's more like this guy, not doing so hot. And then like this one's probably like General Motors. We don't even know what's going on there. And then over here, I don't know. This one kind of makes me think of Ford. But it is crazy to think about that. It can be that wide of a playing field. I mean, you're talking about Tesla's cost is equal to Rivian's loss, basically. Just insane. Like, these companies are just in totally different playing fields here. And then you throw in some more great stuff from the third quarter. How Tesla's Cybertruck was only the third best-selling EV in the US in Q3. What was number 1 and 2, you ask? Tesla's Model Y and Tesla's Model 3. So they have the top 3 best-selling EVs in the US. And yet, Tesla vehicles have less than 4% market share in the US, and they've got less than 3% when it comes to China and Europe. So we're still very early innings here, and just the runway for growth is just massive. I was just having a conversation yesterday about how easy it is to get caught up in this argument that Tesla is overvalued today. But what does that really even mean? Will today's prices look overvalued in 5 years, in 10 years? Keep in mind that less than 4% market share, that's including all the gas vehicles too, not just electric. So there's no doubt that over the next 10 years, EV's share of the total car market will greatly expand, and Tesla's poised to capture more of that growth than anyone else. So globally, I think that EVs make up about 6% of the market, and in China, it's about 12%. So I'm sure that there's many people, to bring in the Apple comparison here, who look back at Apple with deep regret, because Apple 10 years ago, I feel like might have been in a similar situation as Tesla today. And we're going to look at some excerpts from an article here. They had the iPhone, it was a great innovation, but the smartphone market became crowded. You had a lot of competition, similar to what it seems like is happening in the EV market today. So back in 2014, there were some analysts, like with Tesla today, that had their doubts on Apple. And Apple stock is up 1,000% since 2014. So I found this article, went back I took a trip down memory lane, found a little article on CNBC, and I'll read you guys some quotes from it. They were talking about Apple. This is back in 2014. So Apple hasn't had any technological innovations since Steve Jobs left. This is a company that's getting beaten by its competitors. Now we have the next big item, which at the time was the iPhone 6. It's going to have a larger screen size. Samsung has had that for 2 years, one analyst said. Back then, Apple, their market share had just fallen from 18.7% to 15.3%. You've got another analyst talking about they've got fierce competition from low-cost rivals in the smartphone and tablet space, and how the functionality gap between Apple and the low-price competition is getting smaller and the pricing gap is getting wider. What we need from Apple is not just to continue to sell iPhones and iPads into its customer base, we need a new product. So it goes on and on. I can link that article. It's in the article I wrote on my Substack. If you guys want to read the full article, you can find that in the description below. But Apple is up 1,000% since this article was posted. And I just was reading it and I was finding myself thinking, like, every time they put the word Apple, you could substitute the word Tesla and just see so many similarities to a certain sentiment. And the stock went up 1,000% in the decade that followed. And honestly, Tesla could arguably be in a better position than Apple was back in 2014 today. Because I think, they're one of only a handful of companies that are making EVs at a profit. And while Apple had 15% of the smartphone market, Tesla today globally has around 17% of the EV market and 48% of the US EV market. But it's much better than that because remember, Tesla makes up less than 4% of the car market and the rest is gas. So gas car sales will continue to decline as EV sales grow exponentially. And as I said, EVs globally, in China, make up around 12% of the total car market. In the rest of the world, it's a little bit less than 6%. So the vast majority is still gas cars. And we know EVs are just going to grow exponentially. It's just, there's no other way I see the next 5 to 10 years going. Gas cars continuing to decline, EV sales going up, Tesla's capturing the bulk of that. Now, with Tesla, I go back to this, it's like owning a basket full of stocks because while they continue to dominate EVs and increasingly the entire auto market, because that's really what it's about here. Everyone gets super hyper focused on just the EV market. It's the whole auto market, really. There's so much potential for all their other projects, right? We know they obviously are working on energy storage. They got solar panels, they have batteries, humanoid robots, superchargers, full self-driving, semi-trucks, robo-taxis, and so much more. I mean, it's insane when you really think about everything this company is working on and the speed at which they get all this stuff done and they're making progress on. There's so much opportunity, even if they're able to dominate just one or two of these things, which they already are, really. Just imagine if they can deliver on all of it. I mean, it would really put Apple to shame, and even if you're skeptical of all these projects, which is fair, right? If we just look at the current playing field and where most of Tesla's revenue is derived from today, there's no denying the vast majority comes from the auto market and their automotive sales. But if we just look at that, every Tesla sold is one less car sale for a traditional car company that is never coming back, right? Tesla's retention rate is insane. I talked to people, they bought their first Tesla, then they bought their second, then they bought the Model X, then they bought the Cybertruck. Once you get in their ecosystem, it's very similar to Apple's. That doesn't seem like many people leave it. So one sale turns into 4 or 5 over a lifetime, maybe more. But so every Tesla sold is one less for a traditional car company, never going back to those companies, right? It's hard to see today, but what does that look like after 10 more years of Tesla taking market share from everyone else? Gonna be a long and volatile road, but Tesla sure seems to be on a similar path as Apple was back in 2014, if not on the cusp of an even bigger opportunity when we just look at their full product roadmap and how monumental and life-changing all of these products could be. But again, even just the auto, they're taking market share from everyone else. So who knows? Today's stock price could look like pennies a decade from now. So let me know what you guys think. I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments below. I think this was Vinny Joe Show, episode number 6. New episodes every Friday. Subscribe if you enjoyed it. I look forward to hearing what you guys think down below. I'll see you guys on the next one.